Being 5:15, let's call the Tuesday, September 26th, 2023 Economic Development Committee to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call has been taken. Need a motion to adopt the agenda. Got a motion by April, a second by Dave to adopt the agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next, we need to approve the August 29th, 2023 minutes. It's provided in your packet.
Approve.
Got a motion by
Second.
Bill. Second by Belinda. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Look for public comment. I see none. Before we move on to agenda number 5, I'd like to welcome Carson Gregory to the Economic Development Committee. He is our new student rep. So, welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Say anything about yourself?
Yeah.
Speech to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
All right.
Speech,
Yep,
speech,
yep.
speech.
So yeah, Wyatt encouraged me to join, so I filled out an application because this really interested me. I thought that I could really bring some stuff to this meeting because I competed in DECA State the past few years for travel and tourism, and apparently that's something we've been looking for. So yeah, I'm really excited to bring some ideas and really bring something to this awesome meeting.
Are you guys both in the same grade level?
Yes.
All right, number 5, we have a recap of the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation Connect Communities Networking Meeting on September 14th.
I will take that one. So like on the agenda, it says September 14th, we did host and worked with the WEDC on a Connect Communities networking meeting. So one of the reasons behind that is New London is a Connect Communities program with the WEDC. So that's kind of the background why we've teamed up with the Economic Development Corporation on this Connect Communities program. This is our 3rd year, April, 2nd year.
Starting our 3rd year.
We've been a Connect Communities. And it's a networking group. It's basically a resource group. There's a email listserv that goes around with a lot of ideas. And then the WEDC offers several networking opportunities to connect and just basically get more information about certain things. So it was our turn. We volunteered and we were lucky enough to host this upcoming meeting. It was a great turnout. Typically, people that usually attend these Connect community meetings are, number one, either economic development professionals with municipality, or number 2, professionals that are involved in in a Main Street program. So there are formalized Main Street, downtown Main Street programs, Appleton, Green Bay, and such, and they'll send representatives for networking and these type of opportunities. So it was a great turnout. We had 20 to 30 people attend. And the coolest thing about that is we had a great New London turnout. We had several business leaders and property owners in our downtown come and attend. We had representatives from the school district, the chamber, the city. We had a really good New London based turnout there. So I was really happy about that. 2 of the things that were the 2 topics that were talked about, number 1 was marketing and just different type of ways to market downtown and businesses and activity in general. And the other second point was property rehab and what can municipalities or downtown Main Street programs do to encourage property rehab. So it was funny because a lot of the conversation overlapped with each other and went back and forth. So both of those things are interrelated with each other. But I'm expecting that Aaron from the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation is going to put together a summary of the conversation. They held one in New London, and I can't remember, I think it was Ellsworth. There was a second one somewhere else in the state. And she was going to put all those notes and conversations together and then send us the information from that, and we can relay that information back to you once we get that to kind of relay some of the information that was talked about. But really cool, really. Another thing, we put New London on the map. We held it at Familiar Grounds. We were sporting, another downtown business during the construction. I was kind of freaking out a little bit because I thought I had the detour route figured out. And then the night before, Robert comes in and said, I changed the plan. So I'm trying to get a hold of everybody to let them know what the changes of plans were for the detour route. But it all worked well. Everybody made it and it was a good turnout. So I know Tim and April were there. I don't know if there's anything I really missed in the conversation, but
Nope, I think Jen did a really awesome presentation about New London, and we got some oohs and some ahs and some claps when he was done. It was really well done. So I think it was overall really great conversation.
I thought it was pretty fascinating. There was leaders from all different communities, Wrightstown, Montello or whatever was the other one.
Yep.
Tigerton, Oshkosh, Little Chute. So there's big and small communities, which it was really cool. They just kind of bounced ideas back and forth like, hey, this worked for us. What worked for you? It was a way for communities to connect and share, the pros and cons of what they've been doing. I thought it was a great discussion. Is it a monthly thing or is it just a once in a lifetime thing? Or
They do several of them a year.
Okay.
This was one focus, and I know last year, I think it was last year, the year before, I took a different course with them, and it was called First Impressions, and that was down in Waiawega. That one was a little bit different of a program where they wanted people from the outside to do a little research on, in this case, Waiawega, they're downtown, and we were supposed to do some homework and kind of figure out different. They had some questions. We had to kind of do our homework and figure things out. And then we came there, and then everybody from the outside, relayed what they learned. And then it was more of the first impressions of their downtown. And then that's what the whole conversation was for that program. So they do different focuses on some of the programs, but they only do a couple per year. So we're kind of lucky to be on their radar for this year.
one of the discussion items were the facade of downtown, which we've been talking about for a long time with our facade grants and stuff like that. And it was really kind of interesting to see other communities, what they've done. There's one that had like a $50,000 loan program. One had a $10,000 facade grant, but it was just for the exterior outside. So that's something we've been kind of talking about. We want to bring to the committee again, but we kind of want to pin down exactly what we want the downtown to look like before we start just throwing money at it. Like maybe we can, give the business owners a direction to go in and some resources. So that was just a really interesting discussion as the facade of the downtowns.
Some of them were teaming up with architects, and that the municipality or the Main Street program would actually help finance working with the architect to help focus on what we wanted to see the downtown look like. But then number two, then the municipality owns those plans, and then they can use that for other programs or other type of facilities. So a lot of different options about where we can go with things, and maybe want to have that discussion in the future.
Where's the other town, their whole Main Street's being torn up right now. I saw it on television the other night. I didn't get the name. I thought it was our Main Street when I first saw it. I saw the backhoe down there, but it was someplace else, but I don't know where it was.
I did hear that today too, and I can't remember what
They
it
had the whole Main Street, it looked just like our Main Street. It was kind of interesting to see that.
Not sure.
Yeah.
Well, it was, like I said, it was a really awesome discussion, and look forward to attending any more if there's any more.
Mhm.
Moving along, consider options for a shuttle service during the 2024 downtown reconstruction project.
So this was kind of put on the agenda. I know Wyatt had some information in the tail end of last month's meeting, so I was kind of put it back on the agenda, not to put you on the spot. but
Yeah,
Putting you on the spot to kind of bring a recap of that.
so I talked to the high school principal, Mr. Yerke, last month, and into the beginning of this month. And I think it had been brought up a few meetings ago, like I was saying at the last meeting, to potentially use like student volunteers, if we had golf carts or something. And Mr. Yerke, how he described it to me is that if we wanted to have that volunteer opportunity, it'd have to be through the city, and then we could promote it at school. But it's not necessarily something that the school could do. But if the city were open to having a volunteer opportunity out for that, they could definitely promote it in the school. And then I was just thinking with that, if you're gonna open up the volunteer opportunity to students, you might as well do it to anybody. If we want to get the ATV club involved, like we had talked about. And then I think there were also questions about kind of the model they were using for the shuttle service between the high school and the football field for football games. So how that works is the school owns like an ATV, the ATV that pulls it, and then our shop class actually built the wagon behind it with the seats and everything in 2007. So both of those are owned by the school, and then teachers volunteer to operate that during the school game or during the football games. So that's kind of the two items I was asked to look into. But yeah, as far as having students down here, Mr. Yerke was more than open to promote that at school if that's the route we want to go. And like I was saying, with that route, I think that opens up a lot more opportunity for more people in the community or like other groups, like I was saying, the ATV club that might want to get involved in that, if that's the route we want to go.
It's a very interesting concept. I just think that maybe for special events, it would be an option, but
Right.
day-to-day operations, I just don't see it.
And we had talked about it, like weekends sort of things, but like special events is what I was thinking too, just because if there's something big while that's torn up, if we wanted something to get people down there, or I know we were talking about at one point, it's hard for the elderly people. They need to get down there if, you know, they got a hair appointment or something.
Definitely this year has been challenging with the downtown, but I'm really happy to report that it's been working. I mean, people have been getting downtown. And next year, I think it's going to be even easier with that parking lot being completed right downtown. I mean, this year we had side streets closed off, main streets closed off all at once, one way in, one way out, and people still found their way in there. So I know some of the businesses are having troubles, but even breaking it up into the 2 years, I actually almost think it's better because you're doing just 2 months, 3 months, whatever, and then, you know, not 6 months all at once, you know, so.
Yeah, you'd have to put current 2 to 2.5 months on the next year's schedule. So like you said, you're just breaking it up. It's still gonna be that many months for the entire project. You're just breaking up that much in between the two. And to your point, I think, like you said, when people call, where do I park? And it's kind of a crazy fluid point right now. Next year, where do you park? Here. This is where you're gonna park next year. So I think that'll be a lot easier to, and we can put signage around the downtown, arrows here, here, here. Here's how you get to this lot. So yeah, I think that'll be.
It's kind of watching today, the road being kind of muddy and slushy and stuff from all the rain. And I've seen plenty of people out there walking around. Plenty of business people, some ladies with high heels walking, and stepping around puddles. And I mean, everybody's doing a great job at supporting our downtown and still making a go at it. Very proud of everybody down there.
I think it's really been nice to see how quickly they wrap things up and clean things up, get things cleaned up on Fridays for everything that goes on the weekends. At the very beginning of it, I was hearing, you know, a lot of banter about, oh, shutting down, you know, can't even go downtown for the weekend. And I'm like, no, you can. You can. So that was really good to see. And thinking about the shuttle service, you know, volunteers, I like the idea of having volunteers and, you know, doing some major coordinating like for the weekends and stuff. But I am wondering too about getting volunteers who might be willing to be like coordinating with like the senior shuttle to drop off in our parking lot, and then whoever the ATV club or whoever can shuttle the elderly, but do that on a, you know, a sign up basis. You know, on Tuesday at 10 a.m. I have a hair appointment that I need to get to, and the senior van can drop me off at the parking lot, and then whoever is going to volunteer can get me down the road a block and a half. So something like that, where we can get people coordinating.
It's a good thought.
Kind of like a taxi, a pre-scheduled taxi shuttle service for those people. And then situations like, handicap accessibility could be addressed if they're pre-planning that.
That would be helpful because the people who are in the know, then they would know, maybe we go to the back door, or maybe we use a rear entrance on.
Yeah,
This week, if we're gonna go to, El Tequila's or something, maybe we're gonna go here and then, on this side, we would go,
right.
they would those people would be more up to date on.
Yeah, so my
where the
thought is,
project Maybe just a couple boots on the ground
yeah.
would be helpful.
And that's kind of my thought, maybe some of these organizations, if we get some kind of outreach to them, somebody to reach out to them and say, hey, are you willing to help with volunteers? Do you have volunteers who would be willing to help out and step up and do these things? Especially the ATV club or, anybody. Actually, we could do something in the paper or some kind of flyer for anybody who has golf carts even, to help out and take a volunteer shift like they would, ringing bells or something.
And I don't even know if it's gonna come down to the actual shuttle, a device, a thing that's gonna be pulled or carried or dragged. Because just in having this dialogue, I've heard people, talk like, oh, yes, we're planning this. I'm gonna have my daughter or my daughter-in-law bring me to this event. And I think just through the dialogue, people are coming up with plans of, okay, maybe
Mhm.
maybe we'll see more, planning on the home front just by awareness versus all of a sudden, the road shut down. What do I do? Oh my, I think there's lots of dialogue that's happening and
Well, and maybe the businesses too would be able to, have
there you
those
go.
dialogues
There you
with their
go.
customers.
yeah, maybe a
Saying,
person
what
at
do
the
you
door.
need?
Yeah, you have
Yeah.
a person at the door, say, okay.
I'm just thinking about how we can just get more people talking about what we're
That's it.
gonna do.
Yeah, I don't know that there's gonna be a silver bullet or a one size fits all, but maybe a bunch of little things could have a
Yeah,
nicer impact. I think the signs, we talked about signs for parking.
Mhm.
That will be helpful. Next year, we'll have this parking lot. And then if this parking lot becomes full, we can put up temporary signs and then take them all down through this. So it's not, sign pollution.
mhm.
We could have parking here and then an arrow, more parking here and more parking. So
Yeah.
I think all these little things are gonna, a couple cars here, a couple cars there. And I think that's gonna be a huge result.
Yeah,
Be a lot
I
more-
like the shuttle cart. I mean, and I wouldn't think you need more than a golf cart. I don't think you really need the trailer. I mean, if you're shuttling people, it's gonna be what, 2 people at a time?
Yeah,
You're not gonna be shuttling 8 or 10 people at a time.
No.
So I don't think you would need a trailer per se. But my only concern is scheduling the volunteers. If anybody's scheduled volunteers, April notes firsthand, you're begging for volunteers. Who's gonna be, is it city? Is it gonna be entity? I can't put that on Robert. He is
No.
swamped as is.
Mhm.
And if I don't have a volunteer coming in that time frame, then is Chad going out there to, fill in that shift just because people are gonna depend on it? So on the flip side, devil's advocate, I like the idea. I mean, I think for mobility purposes, for those who, can park in one spot and get them downtown. And I like the idea of that's a boots on the ground type thing, there can be some, hey, I know that I can take you to the back of Lynn Tank's agency to get back in there instead of going in the front. But just to talk about who is gonna manage that.
Yeah, we have awesome bikes that we have out there. Is there such thing as can we go to a place and rent it's called electric wheelchair?
Mhm.
Can we have a couple stations where somebody who needs a thing to get from here to across could, is there something that we could put out there and we take them and put them away at night and we put them out and I don't know.
Or staging a golf cart area for the businesses, if the business wants to, have a golf cart shuttle,
Yeah.
that we
I just-
could,
I think the
Stage.
business would have a really good feel for when the time.
right,
We all probably have some sort of chart that tells us when we're gonna be busy, we're typically busy between this time and this time, we're a little slower during this time. And maybe getting really good data or feedback from all the businesses. Tell them what would be a really good way to get basically people to the door.
It will be much more challenging for businesses next year when they're actually rip that whole street out.
Yeah,
All the sidewalks are gone. There'll be days that it's gonna be very, very difficult to get through there at all for foot traffic even.
And do they start, I think I asked this, I don't remember, do they start at one end, just like here, and then like it's coming out? And then as it's being torn out, it's being redone behind there, or is it the whole thing is removed, rescaped and repitched and whatevered, and then sidewalks put in, or?
To the best of my knowledge, what I've seen done is they're pretty much gonna rip that whole downtown out from one end to the other. Sidewalk to sidewalk will all get taken out.
So it'll be dirt and gravel.
It'll be gravel, dirt. They'll be doing the underground, the wiring, the conduits, all that kind of fun stuff. And then that small stretch that out get paved all. I'm not marking their words, but it should get done all in one day.
Once you get done the paving, I mean, like you said, you got all the electrical grid to put in with the lights, you got to put the footings in for lights. We've got the storm sewer. We did the sanitary and the water this year, but we still have to do storm sewer next year because that was grant eligible. So that'll be in next year's project. But that'll go quicker. It's not a deeper dig, or it's not as deep as dig
Yeah.
as the water and the sanitary was. But then, like you said, I mean, once they pour curb and gutter, I'm thinking that's gonna be long enough stretch. They can get a machine in there for curb and
Yep.
gutter, and then the pavement itself. Sidewalks, that's probably gonna be hand poured.
That'll all be hand pour.
Yeah.
And
That'll
it'll all be
long.
separate because our decorative stamp colored concrete. We pour it at a separate time versus the regular sidewalk. And then you got that little strip up at a building. I don't know if they're gonna separate that from the
Yeah,
regular
you
sidewalk. So
can't get a machine in there by any means, or work around all the footings for the electrical.
that'll all be,
Like
so
those.
it's definitely not gonna be a block by block project once.
so it sounds more like it's gonna be a north versus south project. So we've got, the people on the north side, we've got the parking lot for them.
Mhm.
But for the businesses on the south side, how far, is this intersection here gonna be torn up as well?
Mhm.
So
Eventually.
it might mean that people are parking on the other side of the bridge and having to get over to get behind businesses
And
that
that's where
way.
the shuttle service comes in nice, because if they do park in the new parking lot and the shuttle service needs to go 3 blocks down around to get in front of, someone on the south side.
Yeah.
There's gonna need to be more conversation.
So why don't we, after this project is done for this segment, invite the downtown district and have kind of a listening session on the do's and don'ts and struggles that they've had here.
You want to jump in or you want me to jump in?
We just had a conversation about this morning. The downtown businesses have already started to collaborate and discuss different ideas to bring business downtown, bring traffic downtown. We talked about this at the revitalization committee, and we asked Kim from Events Everlasting is on our committee, and we said, let that group know, should the city and the chamber be involved, or should we just kind of support from afar? So we're kind of waiting to see what they need from us. But we've invited them also to join the revitalization committee too, to give us some feedback.
Perfect.
So I think there's gonna be even more conversation and focus about what we can do. We went through this year. I mean, we can learn from things this year. I mean, we went through some stuff and, we can make things better for next year. And it sounds like there's a lot of starting conversations, and hopefully everything comes together for, macro conversations of what we can do to really support downtown, make sure that everybody knows that they can still support the businesses and get around. And
Maybe we could have, you mentioned Robert, is he's super familiar with what's gonna happen? Because I think we've we think we know and we've speculated on how it's gonna happen, but maybe he could explain to the businesses on what, maybe next year's project is gonna be handled different than this one, than what happened this year.
so.
And then maybe everybody can get info from him or somebody.
So typically with schedules, and John's gonna know this, that when you design a project like that, the city's end is to design it. And then we can put some requirements on the project. You have to start by this time, or you can't start earlier than this, and you have to be done by this. But that whole middle section, the means and methods, that's the contractor's decision, with understanding that especially for a downtown project with this, they need to keep the businesses open, that people can access stuff as much as they can. But scheduling wise, the contractor, that's his responsibility. Like I said, the means and methods, he's gonna come up with a schedule. He's gonna know that, hey, for my process, I need to do this first before this. Whereas a different contractor might do it the opposite way, but depending on how winning bidder, whatever that winning contractor, his best way to do things, he's gonna set a schedule together. We can review it and make suggestions and work together, but that initial conversation or that initial schedule and, project plan is gonna be on the contractor, the winning contractor.
Yeah, from my experience, it's not a one block thing when it comes to the finished product. It's,
They're not gonna bring in a paver,
no. it's
pave one
gonna-
block and then go away and then come back and do another. They're gonna want to go all the way down and do that stretch, so.
There's a few days where foot traffic are gonna be very, very challenging at best.
Do all the businesses have access, back entrances?
No.
Everyone's got a back door.
Right, but
But-
like Taqueria, her back entrance goes right into her kitchen, so she can't allow
Right.
traffic through her back door.
Is there any opportunities where a business, if there's a couple businesses where one business, is there any joint openings? Common areas where you can walk in and then they can, no,
My knowledge, I don't think so.
Those all be firewalls in between the businesses. But I think having that understanding and thought process as we have more conversation, how are we gonna do this? What's the best way to work together and make sure we can continue that foot traffic?
Okay, so I mean, if you guys want to continue talking about shuttle service, we can definitely keep it on the agenda. Otherwise, we can continue discussing placemaking. I asked this to be on the agenda again, just because I thought it was an interesting idea that Hans brought up a couple meetings ago. When it first got brought up, it was kind of all over the place. I mean, Chad kind of talked about that. Having concerts and special events is more of a special events thing, as instead of economic development. So I don't know, it's just something that I put together a little PowerPoint presentation, just what I did some research on. Placemaking, the wave of the future. How can we enhance and entertain the citizens of our city and bring more visitors to our town? There's hidden garden and music venues in the space between John's Bar and Longevity. We could set up a space with seating areas, tables, and a stage area. In this space, anyone would be able to rent the space for a pop-up event, such as beer garden, pop-up eatery, food trucks, etc. The stage area could be used by magicians, written word artists, and performers, either as an impromptu performance or a scheduled event. People could use it as a place to gather, meet a friend for a coffee, or just relax and read a book. Following slides are ideas and examples of what the space could possibly look like. Any of these can be combined with others to create a space that can be enjoyed by many, as well as a possible small revenue area for the city of New London. Let's take a walk into the imaginary world of placemaking in New London. Seating area with barrel benches. Take note of the food truck in the background. This could be rented by the trucks as a pop-up location. Artificial turf placed over the soil that green space look without maintenance. This would be a great entrance from the street that would give it to a private secret garden feel. Add a simple stage to the seating and you have a great little music venue that can be rented or used by street buskers on a summer's eve. Creative way to cover the garden and provide shade for these those enjoying the space. Art, entertaining, socializing. with a little effort, we can place little pieces of wonder about the city, places that enhance the lives and lift the spirits of the residents and visitors of New London. Each little nook and cranny could be sponsored by an individual, family, or group who would be able to find and design their own little corner, or of course, with the approval of the committee and the council, that is. Imagine the pride of having your own little space that you put your heart and creative soul into and brought it to life for others to enjoy. So can we come up with 10 more little spaces that would enhance our lives? Any ideas? I mean, like I said, there's just, I chose that location. I just thought it was kind of a neat little space that's a nook or cranny. I know I was just in downtown Appleton a couple days ago, and they have some little spaces like that where there's some seating areas and, you know, the whatever lights, the Edison bulbs or whatever and stuff like that, it's kind of interesting. I know Chad had mentioned that the city also owns the property behind it.
Mhm.
So if we did have you know, a place where people could go through and, you know, have maybe a fountain or something like that. So that's kind of where I went with the placemaking idea. And I just kind of wanted to throw that out there for what you guys thought.
I really love the idea of turning that into that space there with the, what is it, 205 and 207 lot, Chad?
There's actually 3 lots in between there, 203, 205, 207.
Okay.
City owns 203, 205. The owner of John's Bar owns 207.
Okay.
So there's 3 lots in between here right now.
Okay. I love the idea of turning that into, you know, like a park, possible band, stage venue, food truck venue, and all of that behind there, that's all city parking, right? That's that lot that we own back there, is that all paved or is that all, that right there?
Yep, so this is right here, a city lot. That, and when I was talking to Tim about this too, I mean, if we're talking about placemaking here, which is a really cool idea, this parcel is actually, we could work with a developer to develop something there that, you know, could that work in conjunction with the placemaking options here? Hopefully. There's also a alley in here that does have some utilities in here. We'd have to do some engineering to see if we could eliminate or work around this to hypothetically vacate the alley and then, you know, make this all, or keep the alley and just kind of make it all into a destination, you know, for things. So we also have the city land. Let me get this, okay. We have the city parcels here that Ginger's been talking about, maybe trying to do something here with placemaking as well. But, you know, having something here, like what Tim had with his presentation with the Edison bulbs or the archway, you know, just kind of drawing people's attention to that area. That's really a kind of a cool idea. I did have a conversation. I did meet the new owner of the John's Bar, just to meet him and kind of see what his thoughts were for long-term for the property. So right now he plans on leaving it kind of as is, but you know, I did put the bug in his ear that we're looking at maybe some development here. You know, don't know what it is yet. Don't know what the options are, but we have an opportunity here to collaborate and do something. I also did reach out. I haven't had a chance to schedule a time yet, but with Tracy and Andy from Longevity, I just want to have the same conversation saying, hey, you know, we have this here, you know, we don't want to just do something and not have conversations with them, you know, up front. So I did reach out to them just to start that dialogue, but yeah.
I mean, how
Some good
nice,
opportunities.
how nice is that music behind the chamber when you had, you know, you have different groups up there singing? Can you imagine if you had a nice seated area with still some kind of a stage where people actually had a place to sit and gather? I mean, I think that works really nice back there for that music in the park.
Had there by the Veterans Park for a while, they had the bleachers and stuff in there and they used to have music down there. It was nice. So
Mhm.
That's the same.
Same
That's a
concept.
bigger area here.
Yeah,
It'd be phenomenal for a summer event with, food truck or music and something. And then during the winter, you could have a nice a hockey rink in there, a skating rink or something in in there that's portable or collapsible, fill it with water and you could still then have hot chocolate or maybe Christmas trees along the side and you can have a holiday something, but that's a big area. If there's 3 lots in there,
Mhm.
there's enough room for seating on the edges and
yeah.
you talk about bleachers, some portable, something in there and have some skating rinks or.
And it's got a great mural on that wall now
Go
too.
back to
so,
Tim's pictures. I mean, those are really some interesting pictures he kind of pulled off.
Yeah,
Give you some good ideas of
Yeah, I love
the
that.
vision.
Portable.
I like that with like that. Yeah, that is.
I almost thought you got this picture. This looks like the site of longevity already. So I was like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I've seen this in so many different communities. And downtown, we have the one wall on Lynn Tank's building. And I had so many people that take pictures in front of that wall
Yeah.
for homecoming and prom. If they, even if you just had the New London Gardeners or whatever, have a space where they can put some flowers and have a, place where, pictures, people can go and take pictures. And just, or even just a, nice little quiet tucked out of the way place to sit and, relax.
Those buildings kind of act as natural amphitheaters too, so, I mean, your idea of the hidden garden music venue is fantastic.
I love the idea. Yeah.
Morgan uses that area for the Easter egg hunt, and last year I actually went to that, and,
Naples used that for
Winter
Santa
Wonderland.
Winter Wonderland.
yeah, and it was a nice, even though this year we had snow on the ground for the Easter egg hunt, but the sun was up and it was protected from the wind, and there was a lot of people there. I mean, longevity gets a big turnout and the city does for that Easter egg hunt. But that's a great concept with not a lot of really money involved there, Tim. I think.
Speaking of money, there's actually grants out there for placemaking. So you could apply for grants and have it all paid for as well.
Yeah, I feel like music is especially a good idea, like just having a piano there would be really cool. Like walking around Minneapolis, there are like 3 pianos just sitting there and I just go and play them. Really good if someone walks by, just play a piano. Maybe some like old, I don't know, worn down, maybe not tuned, but like something someone can walk by and just play, bring people in.
That piano idea, Chairman Roberts gave us homework to kind of look up placemaking, and that was one of the #1 examples that came up in New York City. There's a place where there's a public piano and it spiraled into lots of things, but that was one of the examples for placemaking when you look it up, and if you just Google search it, it comes up.
A jazz venue, that'd be cool. Jazz. Yeah. Sit down.
Well, and I think it would give a lot of, our local artists another space to be able to just do their thing. I know that there's been a couple different groups that have been asking, where could we go do this? Where can we, we would just like to play for people, that would give a great space for that kind of thing.
That'd be a good opportunity whenever that stretch of Pearl Streets gets redone. You're gonna be doing some sidewalk work there anyway. Be a good time to try to integrate that like we're doing with that parking lot deal,
So this is just one idea. Like I said, I was just kind of thinking about placemaking. Reach out to any clubs, groups, or whatever that you guys think of would be interested in helping make this happen with the city's approval. I'm guessing the Wolf River Art League, or like I said, New London Gardeners or something like that. Otherwise, I don't know, DECA or whatever, if it's something like, some of the schools would be interested in tackling. Like I said, there's grants available, so it wouldn't cost anything. We just need to find, groups that would be willing to put in the work. And this is just one example. I mean, start with this or whatever, and then there's more places in town that we could incorporate, placemaking.
Outdoor movie night.
I think especially if you were to do a stage type thing, that lends itself to a lot of different activities too, not just like music, but like the mayor said, movies or spoken word or whatever. I think something multi-purpose like that would be ideal for if we're going to fund something for the first time, and then especially if the city puts it there, it lends itself to a lot more like organic placemaking where it's there and the people will be able to use it. Something that's multi-purpose, I think, is ideal.
betcha the theatrics in town.
I was just gonna say the theater troupe could do an outdoor, one
Shakespeare in the
act
Park or
play
something.
kind of thing, yeah. That would be so much fun.
Right.
Poetry readings. I mean, one of the biggest events in Miami is the Miami Poetry Festival. Started out as just some people getting together and having a poetry reading. But
Do a fire fest.
I know, I mean, as far as staging and stuff, if you wanted to just, years ago, the city had these old docks and they used to bring them in when we had a festival. We had a Mark Twain impersonator or like an Elvis guy, but only Mark Twain and a band, a polka band. And we're like, what are we gonna do for a stage? What are we gonna do for a stage? And the public works director said, well, we got those old docks. And they hauled in the old docks and made them into a temporary stage. The next day they were gone, but it worked. But there's a lot of opportunities there for, like some of the photos Tim showed were portable chairs and stuff, and you can configure it to whatever your event is, so. Sorry.
That's good. Yeah, around Christmas time, I know we have a house that you sync up to your radio and it has like Christmas music and lights. That'd be really cool if one of the spaces was just you drive in and then just watch the lights to a radio thing. Cause I remember I always really like going to see that when I was younger.
I've actually seen other communities have villages you go through and see all the lights with the music and stuff.
Yeah, I would travel like up north to a random city I've never heard of just to see their lights. So maybe people will do that to our city if we did something like that. Because Christmas time is huge to a lot of people.
So anyway, in conclusion, I've given you one idea on how we can use certain empty spaces to create a place of wonder and enchantment, a place of possible revenue, cultural experience, and plain simple neighborhood goodwill and community involvement. We can expand on placemaking by planning small events, block parties, as Hans Thompson suggested, a night under the stars with open mic poetry. There you go. And musical performances, food truck rallies, pop-ups. The list of opportunities is endless. With a small amount of effort, we have the opportunity to make a big impact on the lives of everyone. So I just wanted to kind of spark the creative, thinking for everyone to, keep that in the back of your head. And if anyone else has any other comments or discussions about placemaking, please bring them forward.
I just want to reiterate the whole concept of having a stage area there. Just because I've heard so many people saying that they would love to see more concerts, more bands, things like that coming to New London. We used to have that going on a whole lot more than we do now. And as I was thinking, a retired coworker's son does a lot of lighting and sound and stuff for bands in Appleton. And I'm constantly seeing all the different bands and all the different venues that are just playing in, back parking lots set up, for these little mini concerts. So there's a lot of opportunity to bring in those different types of venues to New London too.
Now, I don't want you to forget that the chamber already does.
They do.
Yep.
Yeah,
Not that anybody listening in is like, it doesn't happen, because it does. you
it
know.
does.
It's
It
just a matter of
does.
finding who's gonna organize it, who's gonna manage it. Just to sit there and say, oh, the chamber, do 20 more of them. Yeah, it's not there. To do that.
Hear it all the
either.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
No,
to your
but-
point, yeah, if there's groups out there that wanna, if we create the venue,
If we create the
make it easy.
venue,
Yeah.
then it's easy for them to just plug right in, to rent it out and plug it in, to do their own pop-ups.
Yep.
And it takes a lot of the work off the chamber, off the city in that respect.
Mhm.
So,
The little pavilion by the river is awesome. The Fall Fest, when they had Band of Barley or whatever playing there, I mean, with the backdrop of the river. I mean, that's kind of like placemaking there too. I mean, that was.
so we have that already.
Mhm.
I guess, we can start marketing that a little bit more. Granted, if we want to work on one down on Pearl Street, that too, but we have one already.
it's
If
true.
anybody else, if anybody's listening out there, we have a venue that you can go ahead and have a little concert.
When I was looking up the basic core of what is placemaking, you get always, of course, the Wikipedia is gonna pop up, but the definition of it really hinged a lot on the public spaces. And so, according to Wikipedia, placemaking is a multifaceted approach to the planning, design, and management of public spaces. Placemaking capitalizes on local communities' assets, inspiration, and potential with the intention of creating public spaces that improve urban vitality and promote people's health, happiness, and well-being. Then, of course, the little pop-down question bar always comes up when you Google search anything on your phone. And in its simplest terms, it's the process of creating quality places that people want to live, work, and play in, which we've heard that in our chamber models and our tours and promotional products and stuff. But when you start getting deeper into that onion, when you're looking it up, then what are the challenges to placemaking? And a lot of communities are at more of a disadvantage than New London, because when you look at what we have per capita for public spaces, it's tremendously higher than most communities. So like Tim singled out one space, but he asked us to come up with some ideas for a lot of places and look at some of our untapped things. We have, what is it, Chad, out north of town behind the apartments and Walmart and all that, was that 80 acres of
94-ish.
94 acres of
Right.
untapped area. We have a nice, beautiful little woods at Memorial Park behind the Ball Diamonds and the historical village. We have public spaces at our fingertips. So, little places. I remember years ago when cell phones first came out and you'd take a phone call outside, and you start more and more, that was before you walked and everybody had their face in their phone. But I always thought it would be nice to have a little cell phone park here or there in urban areas where, the days of the old phone booth are kind of gone. But sometimes when you're on the go and you get a call that's important, a little quiet place to dip into real quick to either charge your device or just to close the door and be away from the noise of the Harley Davidsons, the loud exhaust vehicles, little places like that, little public spaces. Think about it in a broad sense of our whole community. Those little places that increase people's quality of life, make them feel like they could sit, stay, talk much, those little kind of places. And then some existing assets that we have are our library and our museum, which obviously when the library's done, there's going to be more traffic in that area. And there's a lot of things to think about, the potential for the placemaking opportunities in New London.
Mhm.
And the museum is another example, maybe not placemaking, but there's a statewide publication coming out called Made in Wisconsin. And the New London Museum's got a current exhibit right now about the history of the industry and things of New London. You know, from the logging, the steamboats, the Edison factory, all of those. It's a great exhibit or, you know, program. And that's going to be featured in that Made in Wisconsin. So combine those assets, we have public areas that we can utilize for placemaking. Combine those with the organizations like the library and museum that we already have. It's kind of really neat when you start, you know, I'm glad Tim said, everybody go home and think about placemaking at the last meeting, because I mean, you could really keep just going and going and going and find so many great ideas. But then when you apply it to where we live, we're in a very unique situation. We have two rivers that meet in our town. We have rich logging, Native American history, things like that, that are just ripe for placemaking opportunities and to engage people when they do come, you know, self-guided tours and things. We have all the murals that the Art League's been doing. And so it's an exciting topic. Thanks for getting us on that, Tim.
One other opportunity we might have, and I'm trying to see if I can find the layout. If you guys remember, we had that planning meeting that the concept came out about, you know, changing
Yeah.
St. John's Park and actually flipping it. And we're gonna work on some of this with the downtown project. We're actually gonna fill in this exit, and for the time being, remove this planter and put these stalls straight on for kind of phase one. But then in a future phase, to create a placemaking opportunity, we talked about maybe flipping this park in the future and then having the park, should share this online, flipping the park so that the park actually has greenery, parkland touching on North Water Street, so you can kind of see it. Right now, it kind of feels like the park is distant from North Water Street, whereas if we flip it, there might be an opportunity of kind of tag Ginger and on, or task Ginger on with this about what's a placemaking opportunity here with that. So just another, you know, nook and cranny that you talked about that.
Seating area, additional benches, tables.
Yep.
And that would be a great space then as well for food trucks. Sticking a food truck in that space and having the benches and the tables and stuff in there. Just another opportunity, another space opportunity.
Then for placemaking, this might sound kind of random, but I just had the idea. What if we just got like a big block and we had some like chiseler or something like that every like day or week, start like sculpting something very, very slightly, and over, it's probably in summer, over the summer, we'd have like a guessing game where people would just come, walk around, maybe go shop at businesses, but check out this block, maybe make their guess. And I don't know how often, I don't know what the logistics would be, but that over time, this would be like sculpted into, I don't know, something significant, like the town dog. But yeah, it's just, I don't know if it's a good idea, but like over time, just starts like sculpting something, and it's there'd be like hints over time, and we'd really like push it in, I don't know, the newspaper or something, like come check this out. Make your guess, win, I don't know, something, some chamber bucks or anything like that. But yeah, I don't know if
I know the Wolf River Art League is planning a sculpture park right now.
yeah, that'd be cool. Just in that sculpture, just this one thing, and it's just a block. We're like, oh, what's this for? And then over time, it's like slowly being sculpted, and it's like a sign. Guess what it is? And then people just keep coming back to it and seeing what it is. And
That's an interesting
That's a good
concept to maybe expand on for downtown next year. You know, have that down, you know, something like that downtown to attract people to keep on coming.
yeah,
back.
like over time, because then they'll continue to shop around, and it will overall benefit the city.
All really good discussion. Thank you, John, for all your hard work and looking that up. That was really awesome. All that stuff that you shared with us. And everyone else, thank you for your input.
Thanks for your
But-
work on the PowerPoint.
Yeah.
That was,
was
that
real nice.
helped with the ideas.
Moving along, updates and reports. There's business updates from April.
Right, so I don't have very much to report on. This morning, we had a groundbreaking at Greenville Eye Care. They announced that they will be expanding on their building. The expansion will double their footprint and allow them to offer services that their patients have to drive to the valley for now. So we'll be able to offer those services right here in New London. The project is supposed to start very soon and hopefully wrap up in March. So look forward to a ribbon cutting for that. Just a reminder, we have a couple ribbon cuttings coming up for the Newton Blackmore Trail tomorrow at 5:30 over at the J.C.'s Dog Park. And then the community cupboard has moved into a new location at the Washington Center. So we'll be supporting them with a ribbon cutting on Thursday at 12 o'clock. Their new location is much larger and it offers a walk-in freezer, which is going to be beneficial for the community. And then I just wanted to mention, which I had previously mentioned, that the downtown district is starting to collaborate together. We're really seeing some stirring happening and some conversations, which I'm really excited about seeing everybody work together. Any questions?
City Administrator's report, Chad?
So I put two things in my memo. Recently, just on a transportation effort, I was recently contacted by Jess Betts Nelson with Phoenix Mobility Rising. They're doing the Wapaka County Catch a Ride program. It sounds like Phoenix has interest in seeing about expanding outside Wapaka County, taking the successes that they've seen here and use that a little bit more on a regional base. One of the goals is just as you go regionally, you can share those resources on more than one level instead of just being on a local level in Wapaka County. So I know it was, I think it was Washera, Shawano, there was a couple other ones that it was going to be like 4 or 5 counties that were looking at possibly expanding the program to. To do that, they were looking at a federal grant. There's actually 2 federal grants they're looking at, but the one for sure, because they're a business, they can't apply for it. It has to be sponsored by a specific group like a government entity. They originally asked the Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission if they would be the sponsor. And East Central likes the idea, but they declined just because they had a lot of staff turnover and they're trying to get their bearings going again on some of the transportation efforts that they got currently on their plate. So then just asked me if the city would be interested in being the sponsor. Obviously, we would like to see the transportation efforts be expanded, but my initial question was like, this sounds like more of a county thing. I don't know if the city should be the sponsor per se. But in that breath, Jess was having multiple conversations with several different entities, and in the end, Wapaka County did agree to be the sponsor for this grant that they're going to write. So the county's going to take the lead on that. Just to be sounds like Phoenix is still going to be the writer. They're going to write the grant to kind of be the grant administrator per se, but the county is going to be the grant sponsor with that. So to be determined if they get the grant, and to be determined if they can expand what they're doing already in the county. And then the second thing, I did mention this before, I met with the owner of John's Bar, just to meet him and get an idea and talk about what his building plans are and start a conversation. As like we talked about just prior, we've got some opportunities for maybe some expansion with cities properties to the west and the north of his investment. Just wanted to start that dialogue. Everything went well. It was just a good conversation, just things for him to kind of talk about, and I'll regroup with him. And then I also did reach out to Andy and Tracy at Longevity, just start that dialogue as well, which is perfect with the conversation we just had to kind of collaborate more and get more input. I guess I just kind of thought of this now, maybe this is a conversation maybe for next month. We talked about this parcel that the city currently owns, and I mean parcels that we have here. Maybe at the next meeting, providing Tim's on board with this, not to put you on the spot or anything, but maybe have a dialogue with this group. What do you guys see in this parcel? What kind of development? Do we see eatery, restaurant? Do we see indoor roller rink? I mean, what do we see here? Knowing what's going on over here, knowing that we have opportunity for placemaking here. Maybe as I have conversations with developers, maybe that helps me lead into what direction we go with that parcel. It's in the TID district.
I always think of downtown Nina and how they have that ice rink, and that's their focal point of downtown where everybody gathers. And it's not just, during the winter season, there's also ways, it's multi-use, and there's ways that they use it during the summer, but I absolutely love that idea.
Mm.
I mean, anybody that's been to Nina lately in the last few years, that downtown is just slammed with people because of that ice rink.
So that'll be a big question. Do we look at public improvements here? Or do we look at a development here? To be determined. Something to put some thoughts into. But I agree that focal point is awesome.
Yeah, I love that idea of having that be, like an ice rink and then having the, our placemaking space right next to it there. And then in the summer, it can be used for a lot of different venues too, whether it be,
We'll definitely add that to next month's agenda.
yeah.
I'll get the map and we can get pictures of what that looks like too, but for additional conversation.
keeping that
But that's all I have to
public
report.
Perfect. Review potential agenda items for future meetings.
Could we do one? And keep seeing shuttle service, and it sounds like, if I understood that, some of these businesses just won't have accessibility. Maybe because other people can see these notes, maybe we adjust that to shuttle service / accessibility, because if that's it, I mean, if we can't shuttle people to I just learned here, if we can't shuttle, that doesn't help. We have to look at common entrances or rear entrances or a shared doorway or something like that, that I was not aware of till now. So if we can have that dialogue, and maybe the community who views this meeting, they might have things to share as well.
Good idea.
And maybe we got to have that conversation with those businesses first before we talk, because I mean, each business is going to have to
Right.
tell us, what their accessibility is. But yeah,
So we'll definitely add that to next month's agenda, review the guidelines for property sale in Northeast Business Park. I know Chad's been working on something like that.
I didn't have time to finalize anything on that, so that'll be continued.
We'll continue placemaking.
If we're gonna be talking about that lot behind John's Bar or whatever, do you think we should get an update next month, maybe on that piece of property across from the library museum? Because, I mean, it's hard to, you don't wanna I know that you almost gotta talk about those two separate but yet together. I mean, I was gonna ask about if there's anything going on with that property, or if there's been thought about it. I mean, we're getting a couple years out from doing the work on Pearl Street, but something that I don't know if if it's too premature to think about that property at this time, or.
Nope, the library museum board would love to look at getting that sold so that they can recoup some of those funds. I did create an RFP last winter and put that out there, and we didn't get any hits on that point in time, but it's a matter of revisiting. It was right around the Christmas time, so maybe it was obviously not the best or ideal time to start putting something like that out, but agreed. That's another parcel that we can start marketing better, and it's in our TID district as well. So we've got,
How big is that parcel? That one? It's like 3/4 of a block.
0.67 acres.
Yeah. Ideally, you'd want some nice tax generating development there. It's a beautiful lot, but the economy stinks right now as far as building materials and everything else.
Is that lot in the TID as well?
Yes. Yep. So we've got TID money that we can incentivize it on a development potentially.
How long do those TIDs last for?
The current ones, and there's a 20-year TID.
I'm
And
just saying that if somebody goes in there in 5 years, I mean, it's the whole 20 years you can jump on.
Correct. It expires 20 years from when we set it. So if someone would come in 10 years into it, there's only 10 years worth of increment to play with. So
Right.
the sooner we get it developed, the more increment we can have to play with and incentivize for the TID district, for TID financing.
So that other piece to the north by John's, that's in the TID too, right?
Yep. Exactly. And also, I see these two are for sale again. They are not in the TID. We can extend the TID, I think, 2 or 3 more times. And we did that when First State Bank did their development. So if there's something here in the corner of Wolf River Avenue and Lyman, hypothetically.
Them are two different, one's business district and one's residential, correct?
Correct, they're zoned differently. This is zoned 1 and 2 family residential, and then the close one in the north is central business district, so 2 different zones.
All right, something to discuss at next month's meeting.
Mhm.
Is there any other discussion that we'd like to add to next month's agenda? I know you were talking about the Phoenix program tonight, and it just got me thinking, my car broke down and it's like, oh, what am I gonna do to get to Appleton or something like that? Has there ever been any discussion or looking into a bus service to connect to New London to the Valley?
Yeah,
Just-
you know a little bit more about the transportation initiatives, but there's the Phoenix one, and then there's Lutheran Social Services.
Yeah.
And they do a little bit more between here in the valley.
Yes, they transport all over the place. So I mean, it's a Phoenix Mobility app, or it's driven by Phoenix. There's an app you can download on there, schedule your ride there. I think they're still requesting 24 hours in advance. Is that what it is, April?
I don't think so.
Are they on demand now?
I think it's on demand depending
Okay.
on, except for overnight, so.
I know we have the
24-hour service.
senior bus service, but I was just wondering, has there ever been any thought of like having a bus that goes from New London to the Valley system, the Valley bus system, in the morning and come back at night? You know what I'm saying? Because, that would be very attractive for somebody that doesn't have a car. I mean, right now, cars are getting expensive. Like, it's so ridiculous. Gas prices are up there, whatever. Somebody that says, oh, I'm not going to move out to the sticks, but if they had a daily or once a week bus service to the Valley, I mean, I think that'd be very attractive for people to come here.
That'd also open cities to more federal grants.
So I don't know if we want to add that to the agenda or look into that or whatever. It's just something, when you were talking about Phoenix, it's like, well, something to look into.
And maybe we invite them back in for a recap of what they're doing and the services as well.
Yeah, that grant that they're writing is due in just a few days. I just wrote a letter of support, so I could update on that.
All right, the next meeting date. Have that.
Halloween.
Ooh, so-
Ah.
right.
Yeah,
Not here.
we want to move that to the 30th.
You Either go to the 30th or move it up a week to the 24th.
I will not be here the 24th.
Okay.
Are you okay with the 30th or? Day early? I know there's no meetings usually on the
Nice.
Monday before.
Yeah, we don't have any other city meetings. 30th.
Okay, so we will move next month's meeting to October 30th at 5:15 here in the chamber, or the council chamber. Any other discussion tonight? I look for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by April, second by Bill. All in favor?
I
Opposed? Carried.